a Woodrow Wilson war message analysis by Brady, Arnold, Darby, Galligher, Hatton, and Madi. On April 2, 1917, Woodrow Wilson delivered his war message to Congress to convince them to declare war on Germany. He did this as a result of the German U-boats sinking American ships. However, Senator George W. Norris opposed his views and thought America should stay out of the Great War. The overall purpose of Woodrow Wilson's war message was to convince Congress to go to war with Germany.
Vessels of every kind, whatever their flag, their character, their cargo, their destination, their errand, have been ruthlessly sent to the bottom without warning and without thought of help or mercy, but those on board, the vessels of friendly neutrals along with those of belligerents. This conveys the main idea of Woodrow Wilson's war message, trying to convince the Congress to join the war. Wilson used a lot of very serious words and had a very serious tone. These were used to demonstrate his stern attitude towards this issue.
The beginning, middle, and end of this speech were split up into past, present, and future. Woodrow Wilson repeated the words right, German, governments, imperial, friendship, nations, ships, people, peace, government, neutral, nation, Congress, war, without, honor, and world, for very important reasons. 5 of the words that my group deemed most important were German, people, peace, Congress, and honor. The word German is important because the German government was attacking U.S. ships. Their U-boats, the German submarines, would be attacking innocent American ships, such as merchant ships and cargo ships. The word people is important because Woodrow Wilson wanted freedom for people of the world. Part of the backstory that was occurring in Germany was the discrimination of Jewish people, disabled people, and people of other races. Peace. World peace was another goal of Woodrow Wilson's. He believed that entering this war would have the potential to stop all other future wars. Congress was another important word that he used multiple times because Congress made the decision to declare war on other countries. Woodrow Wilson needed to persuade the Congress in order to declare war on Germany, which he thought was the best decision to make here. Honor was another critical point that Woodrow Wilson made. The soldiers that were sent to fight in the war were winning honor for their country. Woodrow Wilson used parallel structure to clarify and emphasize who would be joining the war and what the end result was expected to be. Many people expected the First World War to end all wars after that, but obviously that did not happen. Parallel structure would have been a useful tool for him to use when he was talking about U.S. neutrality. He would have been able to use this to go more in depth and really describe to the congressmen what he meant by U.S. neutrality and why this was bad. The word choice that Woodrow Wilson used for this time period was rather formal, because in comparison to today's very educated public, the pre-World War I population was not nearly as educated. Because he was speaking to the Congress, we must assume that this is a group of very educated people, and that the word choice of this speech would be appropriate. In today's time period, many of these words are typically used every day. Some of the very powerful words that Wilson used include restraints, restriction, ruthlessly, humane, civilized, retaliation, and immense. These were powerful because they heavily stress the dangers that Germany posed to American citizens and the government. These words also stress how morally incorrect Germany's actions were. Wilson used many examples of figurative language, pathos, logos, and ethos, as well as fallacies. Many of these examples were used to stress that America is good and that Germany is bad. He did this in order to try and convince Congress to go to war on Germany so that they would be stopped. Woodrow Wilson used hyperbole to really stress the dangers of German U-boats. He gave many examples of how devastating their attacks were and how they were always on innocent victims. Because of the seriousness of this situation, there were no understatements that my group found. The appeal to pity that he used was American ships have been sunk, American lives taken in ways which has stirred us very deeply to learn of. He is trying to get the Congress as well as the American public to feel bad for these innocent victims and to rally the nation to go to war. Wilson repeated the word we multiple times in order to stress the unity as a nation. Wilson used examples of ethos multiple times. Ethos is defined as the appeal to ethics, the use of authority to persuade an audience to believe in their character. Some of the examples that my group found were neither right nor constitutionally permissible. Character, God helping her, she can do no other. When he says neither right nor constitutionally permissible, and character, he is appealing to America's character. He is trying to get the country to think ethically, and that if we cannot stop Germany, who will? And if no one can stop Germany, the rampage will continue forever. He appeals to authority when he says, God helping her, she can do no other. He's appealing to the authority of God, who many people in that time period believed in. Wilson also used pathos very many times in his speech. Pathos is defined as the appeal to passion, the use of emotion to persuade readers or listeners' opinions in a rhetorical argument. The examples that my group found were serious, very serious, humane practices of civilized nations, motives, German people who were no doubt as ignorant of them as we ourselves were. The most important phrases that we found that were examples of pathos was humane practices of civilized nations. No one wants to be inhumane and uncivilized. They all want to be humane and civilized. So, we must fight the inhumane and uncivilized practices of Germany in order to become a better nation. We must also have better motives when we go to fight. We must be willing to stop the evils of Germany. As we can see looking back on many examples of propaganda, we are trying to stop this great beast that Germany is. Wilson wanted to appeal more to ethical and emotional solutions than logical solutions, so there were very few examples of logos. One of the most important examples, though, is that Germany was bad and America was good. When you're joining a fight, do you ever join the bad side? You would always join the good side. So he always painted America as being a very good, civilized, and humane nation, and that was important to be able to get the congressmen to join the war effort. Wilson uses ad populum when he says, God helping her, she can do no other. Ad populum is defined as an emotional appeal to the positive or negative rather than the issue at hand. This is an example of ad populum because Wilson is appealing to God helping America rather than fighting the war with Germany. There were several fallacies that Wilson did not use. Among them were hasty generalizations, red herrings, as well as begging the claim. Because he was talking to a group of very educated people, these would all have been very poor tools to use. For example, if he were to use a red herring, he would be misleading the Congress and directing their attention towards another idea besides attacking Germany and the war. Wilson also uses an ad hominem in his speech, which is defined as an attack on the character of a person rather than his or her opinions or argument. Wilson believes that we should go to war over Germany's actions of sinking American ships instead of believing their thoughts that they should be allowed to expand across Europe.
Woodrow Wilson's war message made a good first impression. He used hyperboles to emphasize how dangerous German U-boats were. He dressed formally to show his authority and to convey how serious of a matter this was. Due to technology restraints during that time period, my group did not actually get to see or hear him perform his speech. We only got to see photographs that we found of it online.
This speech was effective because the tone, structure, and content were persuasive to the American people in Congress to declare war on Germany. It was successful because it was quick to get people to war. The serious tone of Wilson led people to believe that this problem was a serious issue and threatened the security of the United States citizens and government. Historically, we can see that this was successful because we obviously went to war. Content was convincing and it portrayed Germany as being bad and America as good. Therefore, we should attack Germany to stop their moral incorrectness. The structure was past, present, and future, which led the listeners to believe that this war could stop all future wars.